All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Beach Bros Wrestling Podcast. My name is Matt. I'm here with my co-host Hunter, as well as some very special guests here today. We have Bennett and we have Kyle, first time appearance on this channel. Kyle, how are you doing today?
Just too sweet, my man. It sucks you brought me on for the first time in this situation, but I hopefully I can just lend my opinion to it and try to put a little historical gravitas to the unparalleled situation we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have your perspective here. Bennett, how about yourself? How are you today?
I'm doing about as well as we can be down here. Good old tropical storm coming through.
Yeah.
So trying to stay safe. Luckily, we're on the first floor of a 3-story apartment building, and even more lucky, the door has a nice little hole in it, little critters can crawl in and out of. So if it for some reason floods, we're gonna be having a great time.
This podcast is not stopping. If the water's rising in this room, I don't care. We're gonna keep.
So, I'm gonna be honest. I want you to do your next podcast underwater, so that way you can prove that theory.
I can do that. Okay. I mean, I'm not sure if this microphone's waterproof, but I guess there's only one way to find out.
Nice microphone, Matt.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. Yeah, look at that microphone. Wow.
What's so cool about this microphone is that I've had it for 2 years. I just have not been able to have a reason to use it. But now I do have a reason to use it, and that is the Beach Bros Wrestling Podcast.
I think
Beach Bros Wrestling Podcast.
I think the best part is the fact that his audio quality has not changed.
What are you talking about? It's literally 10 times better.
No, not only has his audio output not changed, I think his visual output's kind of got worse. What you do? Looks like a laptop or something?
Bro looks like he's the computer in Five Nights at Freddy's.
Look.
You look like the old dancing baby from the 90s whenever the internet
dancing baby. Oh jeez.
Wow, we are just piling it on, and it hasn't even been 3 minutes. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
It's a record.
It is a record. But yeah, man. Today's episode, not the greatest of circumstances to come together on. However, as everybody has known, at the time of this recording has been 6 days since the untimely passing of Windham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt on our screens as wrestling fans. His loss, it has been the biggest loss in probably in WWE modern history since Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and not to mention we also lost Terry Funk the same week. So it's been a tough week as wrestling fans. But today, the four of us are here to gather around and talk about the legendary character, the man, Bray Wyatt himself, because there is so much to celebrate from his career, and I feel it's only right that we talk about that and give him that spotlight that he deserves. But I just want to go ahead and do the hard part of the podcast right out of the way. If you guys don't mind me asking, I'm just curious about where were you, if you remember, when you found out about his passing? What was your gut wrench reaction? How have you been taking it so far? And Hunter, I'd like to start with you.
So if I do recall, I was just getting out of church group on Thursday, and it's a great evening. I was late to know, so I didn't check my phone at all. It was from 6:45 to 8:15, so from 6:30 on, I wasn't on my phone. I just got the Subway, getting dinner. It was around 9:25, and I got the ESPN notification. I didn't even see it from a text or anything. I got an ESPN notification, and it was Triple H saying, talking about how he got the text message or the call from Bray's father. And the first thing I was like, what? Because when they said goodbye, Wyndham, I thought it was he got cuffed. I got released from WWE, or he was retiring. I didn't know it was death. And then it said Bray Wyatt died at the age of 36 years old, and it was a dagger in my heart. I could not speak for 10 minutes. And I went, and the first thing I did was text Matt, this little group chat we had, like, is this real? Like, and it is real. And I, it took a little bit to sink in. And the next night was the tribute show, and that was a hard watch.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm. So yeah, that's where I was.
Yeah. I remember you texted me. You were the second person to text me about it, but I found out. I'll get to Ben in a second, but I'm not sure if this is how he found out. But my friend Justin has a little group chat with us. He just sent us this. He's like, guys, Bray Wyatt died. And I read it. I was like, I didn't process it yet. And then I looked at it, and I looked on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And then I saw all these emotions from wrestlers, the company, Triple H, just everything going on about him. Like, wow, this is reality. I was at work. Like, I was getting ready to do film a soccer game, and it was just unbelievable. And it just felt like a gut punch right away. And I can't say I've ever experienced a feeling like that before, especially because this was a current day talent. And Ben and I had just seen him wrestle back in February. What little did we know was that one of his last matches against LA Knight in a street fight in a post SmackDown dark match. It was just so much overcoming me. But I mean, we're 6 days later now, and it still doesn't feel real. I've seen 3 tributes. I saw one on SmackDown, I saw one on Raw, I saw one on NXT, and it's still really hard to process, understand. But it's just tough. Bennett, hopefully I didn't steal any of your thunder, but I'm not sure if that's how you found out or not, but please let me know.
Yeah, no, I just gotten out of doing I think I had to go to like a meeting or something at school, and it was from 6 to whenever it ended. And so I got out at like 6:30ish, and I was walking back to the apartment, and I got the same text that you got from Justin. It's like, huh? And then I went and checked my phone, went on Twitter while I was walking. And so, I mean, I just walked right, I had to walk all the way back to the apartment, and I was like, wow. Because to be completely fair, at the time when I was reading that, because of his character work, my first original thought was, oh, okay, this is a gimmick. He's going to come back. And then all the other stuff happened, and I was like, oh no, I was wrong about that. He's definitely not coming back. So, but because of that character work, I was kind of convinced, oh, this is like a gimmick or a stunt or something, and now we're here, and obviously not. So, just it was so just quick. I was like, it was just. Yeah, it was already a pretty bad day that day, and it just was like made it infinitely worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kyle, tell me, I know it's been a tougher week for you too with Terry, but
well, I mean, I was just watching TV. I think I was watching something with my mom, or watching The Castle or Bones, something like that. And I just checked my phone real quick, and I just got on Instagram, and the first post was from TNT Sports, said in memory of Windham Rotunda, and I went, what? I remember screenshotting and sending it to you guys. I'm like, what? Like, what the world? And honestly, that didn't cross my mind. It was character work. Like, it could have been something where he's saying he's putting Bray Wyatt to death, but rebirthing as someone else. But I looked at looking at the post, it said in memory of Windham Rotunda. I went, okay, they're not going to put that if it isn't, legit. And it was shocking. But here's one thing I started thinking about. All right, wrestling fans that grew up, and I'm old enough to know the Attitude Era. So wrestling fans growing up now, this isn't normal. This is shocking. it's not as shocking to me, just it happening. I mean, the situation around it is shocking. But I remember waking up and reading that Eddie Guerrero passed. I remember reading that Chris Benoit passed. That turned into Chris Benoit was killed his wife and his disabled child. I watched live Over the Edge 1999 when JR had JR they went to a backstage pre-record of the Blue Blazer, and you hear JR say something's wrong here. Then when they get back, they cut the crowd shots. Like you know something's wrong when there's crowd shots. So in seeing that, and not only all that, almost weekly there was a in memoriam in the 2000s where at least weekly there was someone who passed, and it passed before the age of 40. Just off the top of my head, Rick Rude, Chris Candido, Bam Bam Bigelow, Road Warrior Hawk, Mr. Perfect, people like that. And so fans of my ilk are desensitized to this. But because of the wellness policy, and in fact, I think, I very rarely want to give this person any credit, but Jim Cornette and his partner on the Jim and Cornette podcast actually said it best. Is like in 2007, from when the wellness policy really went into effect in response to the Chris Benoit tragedy, and the fact that there was no other game in town, all these independent wrestlers couldn't afford to purchase devices that killed a lot of the wrestlers early from the late 80s and 90s. So that's when the deaths started stopping. And then if we got them, it's like, okay, this person's 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay, they've led good lives, natural causes, stuff like that. Or in the shocking case of Chad Gaspar, risking his life to save his son. Like, I think that was the first shocking death since Chris Benoit, because we didn't see it come. And then Brody Lee as well in 2020. The Wyatt family is now have two members watching from below, and it's just, I mean, so I was shocked about it. Like I was trying to process it, because that's the thing, we did not know. We knew he'd been off TV. We knew it was a health issue. No one said anything, and I think that's how they wanted to handle it privately. And then when he came back, maybe he'll open up and say, "Hey, well, I had this going on and this, but everything's good now. I'm fine." And it's just, yeah, it was shocking to see, saddened, because Windham Rotunda had just a creative mind. I'm probably skipping segments, but he just had this creative mind. It was like thinking maybe this is a death for the Bray Wyatt character. But yes, definitely a shocking evening.
No, I don't think anyone else would say that it wasn't shocking. Yeah, go ahead, Hunter.
I didn't want to interrupt, but that I wanted to share was I read the most disturbing thing. I think it was yesterday. They announced the death. It was a heart attack, and JoJo, his wife,
Yeah,
was the one who found him dead. He went to take a nap,
yeah,
and
I read that too.
he set an alarm. So the last thing he said to his wife was, "I'm going to take a nap," and he went, set his alarm, and then she heard the alarm going off, blaring, and was getting concerned, so she went to check on him and died in his sleep.
Yeah,
It's just
but
heartbreaking.
it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, would you rather go in your sleep than suffer an event, be aware of it, and suffer to your to the end. So I mean, as horrible it is, he passed away to sleep. I'm glad that he didn't suffer the pain. It was aware of the pain. So
No, I definitely agree, and that's a very good comparison to make. You just feel for JoJo, his 4 children, his entire family, his brother. He was working with his brother. Hasn't been officially confirmed by the company, but the last time we saw him was with Uncle Howdy, who is all but confirmed to be his brother Bo Dallas at that point. So, just a very tight-knit wrestling family took a huge loss, and it's felt shockwaves throughout the entire world. And you've seen it on X, you've seen it on Reddit, you've seen it on Google search, you've seen it on anywhere that people talk about wrestling. The man was just so captivating every time he stepped on the screen, and it was for a different reason. Like you could feel something was different about him, and he gave us 10 amazing years of him on the main roster. And yeah, he has ups and downs, but the man was just really, really good at what he did, and that was to entertain. So, and that's how we're gonna go ahead and segue into one part of that entertainment, the competition aspect, the wrestling. We're gonna go around and talk about our favorite Bray Wyatt matches that we've known and loved. We probably watched multiple times at this point. About just matches that really stuck out to us is about him as a character, as a competitor, no matter what character he was. So, Kyle, would you mind starting us off?
absolutely. I mean, should we go any of his Husky Harris stuff? Anybody? No? Okay, all right. So I'm gonna definitely not go the Husky Harris route or anything like that. But I would say my favorite match of his, and it's because of the buildup and everything that happened and the location of where it happened and the city where it happened, was WrestleMania 30 against John Cena. The buildup was perfect. You had this creepy dude who cost John Cena a title, cost him an opportunity at a title. So now they're going to have this feud. And okay, so we have this new face of fear going up against the Golden Boy, Mr. Hustle, Loyalty, Respect, and this doesn't work for me, brother John Cena. Before he actually started, working with younger talent and actually putting them over instead of wanting to get his wins. My opinion. So, but what I loved about that match was, first of all, it's at WrestleMania 30, the 30th anniversary of, or the 30th, I'm sorry, 30th edition, not the 30th anniversary.
Right.
Because WWE liked to say WrestleMania 25 was the 20th anniversary. It was actually the 24th, but right. But WrestleMania 30, a landmark event. First event on the WWE network. Okay. It's in New Orleans. The first time it's ever been in that New Orleans. I have never personally been to New Orleans. I know my dad has, and my dad did, excuse me, and he told stories of just like the environment around New Orleans. And this was back in the 70s, 60s, late 60s, early 70s. So just that environment. And then to have someone making their WrestleMania debut with a band playing them out to the ring, like you don't get any higher. Like people don't understand. The company puts a lot of stock in you if they say we want you played to the ring instead of we just hit play and your music players. So you have him, you have the Wyatt family creepily walk down to the ring. And then the first time he did that spider walk, and John Cena sold it perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on? And trying to get Cena to turn to the dark side. He should have. That would have been fun. You could get a lot of mileage on it. Roman Reigns has proved you can turn bad and be one of the best merchandise sellers. But just everything in that match and just the psychology of that match. You know, a lot of people will look at, oh my God, look at the cool moves. Look at the crowd reactions. But what's getting that crowd reaction? It's the psychology of the match. And a lot of this younger generation does not get it. I mean, let's just look at his family tree. His father, Mike Rotunda, IRS, was part of a tag team title match at WrestleMania 1. His two of his uncles, Kendall Windham and Barry Windham. Barry Windham, Four Horsemen, former NWA champion. I mean, not slouches. No slouches by any stretch of the imagination. And I believe, I'm thinking of someone else. I was going to say I thought there might have been a attachment to Magnum TA, but no, that's the Blanchard family.
Right.
But just to see that, and then just see like the modern twist of, because he was the modern day Undertaker. And I'm not saying this in any sacrilege in any way, shape, or form. I meant by the mentality of it, the psychology of it, and the way the crowd reacted to him. So 100%, that's my top match of Bray Wyatt.
Oh, very memorable match. And like you said, the first thing I think of when I think of that match is Cena doing the 5-knuckle shuffle, bounces off the ropes, comes back, falls down because he sees a man literally just in the spider walk position. Just
my back still hurts from watching that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I can't believe he could do it all those years, but props to him. But I think that's an incredible match. Like you said, psychology, second to none there. And they did him right. They did him right with the result at the Firefly Funhouse match 6 years ago.
Yes.
So say what you will about the result, but still that match second to none. Pretty damn good. Hunter, what about you?
So this one's going to be kind of tough to talk about because the last two podcasts we've had, I have mentioned Bray Wyatt's name. I mentioned him thinking that he was going to return to SummerSlam to attack Cody Rhodes after the Brock match.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a great story. I thought it might happen. And then literally last episode, me and Matt did top 5 favorite World Heavyweight Championship matches from 2017 on. And one of my matches was Bray Wyatt versus, The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan in the strap match. And I will continue to say that is my favorite Wyatt match. The strap match was amazing. It was intense. It was fast paced. They brought the best out of each other. It's literally one of my favorite. I don't know where I put it on the list, Matt. I don't remember, but it was in my top 5.
Yeah, I have the paper.
I was invested. That whole pay-per-view was just amazing. 2020 Rumble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was that the opener? Was it? It might have been. I think it was the opener, right?
Give me a second. I'll let you know. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, Kyle's got it.
So, carrying on for the time being, my honorable mentions. I do want to say, I loved his performance in the 2017 Royal Rumble. He really got to shine. He was an early entrant. The Elimination Chamber was great. The Wyatt family versus the Shield was a classic at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
That really got. I was always into wrestling, but that match right there was amazing. Amazing. Even the first Royal Rumble match with Daniel Bryan was amazing.
Yes.
In 2015?
14. Yeah.
14.
In the middle of the lead up to the Yes movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say there was no Yes movement without Bray Wyatt in a way. And to answer your question, that was not the opener, the strap match. It was the worst opener of all time. Roman Reigns,
Baron Corbin.
Yeah,
I remember.
That wasn't that bad of a match. Like,
it was a false count anywhere, wasn't it?
This is pre-Tribal Chief.
Yeah.
We need to shove Roman Reigns down your throat era. So
yeah,
yes.
But he speared him on top of the dugout and pinned him on the dugout.
Commissioner Corbin.
Right.
What was
which oh no, he was King Corbin this time. But it notches down, it goes down several notches because of that great strap match and somebody's return. I don't know. I think somebody returned during the Royal Rumble that year. I don't know who.
I don't know. I don't know.
The rated S superstar, right? The rated S.
Yes, S for Sexton Hardcastle if he ever goes to AEW.
Not Sexton Hardcastle. I can't believe his name just got on this podcast. We went 3 episodes without it. All right, whatever. That's a great choice. We talked about that strap match in good detail a little while ago, but I'll always say that was the Fiend's best match in terms of the Fiend character. And Wyatt himself, I'll go ahead and take over on my favorite match here. You brought up pretty much every match I had listed down, but one honorable mention I will say. Oh no, you're straight. It's cool. It's cool. It's good. We got similar thoughts going. One match I will also like to mention before I expand on one of those you talked about. His Survivor Series performance in the 2016 match, with him and Randy Orton as the sole survivors for Team SmackDown. Chef's kiss. The only other Survivor Series match that was more entertaining than that one was Team Authority versus Team Cena, in my opinion, in 2014. So that 2016 match was crazy, and it was back and forth. It was chaotic, and Bray Wyatt being at the centerpiece of the ending I really enjoyed that. But I would have to say that my favorite Wyatt match would be the Shield versus the Wyatt family at Elimination Chamber. I've watched that 5 times, and I could watch it 5 more times tonight. It feels like a very low number of how many times I should be watching it, but the back and forth pace was just insane. And for a regular 6-man tag, they can either be really, really good or they can be really, really bad. But in this case, these guys just stole the show. I mean, Seth Rollins was bouncing off the ropes like it was nothing. Suicide dives for everybody. Harper was going through the ropes. I mean, and then you had Wyatt. They had fighting in the crowd. They just went everywhere. And there was nonstop action. There was just the biggest powerhouses in the company just going at it. And the fact it only wasn't a main event because of the Elimination Chamber match, which makes sense. But man, they could main event any pay-per-view with that match. And I would stick by that take for the rest of my life. But they had the right winners too. But I think they had one more match. I think they had another 6-man tag on a Raw after that at some point. But I don't think that one could be topped, and it's among my favorites.
Yeah, it was like a couple weeks later.
Yeah, that makes sense. Of course. Why wouldn't they run it back? But Bennett. Let's hear it.
First things first, I would like to quickly bring up something that Kyle had said earlier because I find it absolutely hilarious. You mentioned that his dad was in a tag team championship match in the first WrestleMania where he got his ass handed to him by Nikola Volkov and Iron Sheik.
Nikita Koloff.
No, it's just the same thing.
No.
Yeah, yes, it is. I had to listen to that man sing the USSR national anthem. I never want to hear that again. For the rest of my life, I could go. At least the Rotundo and Windham got a freaking entrance. But regardless, I wanted to bring that up because we literally watched that last night, and that was pretty funny. But listen, y'all are gonna hate me, but I've been to 2 wrestling events in my life. I've been to a Raw with my brother. I've been to a SmackDown with Matt in February, and I'm going with that match. It was a dark match, wasn't on the show. I don't care. The fact that we got that at the end of the show, when they could have just gone, all right, we're getting the OC versus like, I don't know, the Street Profits or something, or Reggie or somebody. I don't know. They could have given us some crap because that's what they do sometimes during dark matches. But they gave us LA Knight versus Bray Wyatt wasn't it like a tables match or like something like that?
Street fight.
Street fight.
But yeah, they just had no rules anyways.
So watching Bray Wyatt, number one, his entrance. That entrance, I still don't like it as much as his original with the Wyatt family, but that entrance live and in person was incredible. The match itself, it was just Bray Wyatt kicking LA Knight's butt around the ring. LA Knight got a little bit of offense in, but it was Bray Wyatt being Bray Wyatt, goofy. he'd hit him and then he'd get up on the apron and he'd strike a pose for the audience, and he'd like wave, and then he'd go and start beating up LA Knight again. It was an incredible experience just to be able to go and witness that, and always wished for something more after. It was like one of those things of like, wow, this guy's really entertaining. Can't wait to see what he does next. And just being able to see that. And I think there was only 5 or 6 more shows he did after we watched him. They were all dark matches or house shows. So it was really, really cool. And I mean, listen, Bray Wyatt with the Wyatt family, that match, it's definitely up there, but I just had to give that a shout out.
No, I think it's a good shout. And but 1 second, Hunter. What I do love about that match was that I mean, we got the entire Bray Wyatt experience out of it. And obviously it was with that current character. So you had the doorway opening was cool. Like seeing the fireflies was really nice in person. And it's a very cool experience. That we saw Sister Abigail end the match too. So I will always hold that moment in my heart as well. But there's nothing like watching him in person, and we were very lucky to do so. So
I was just saying, the one thing to think about is that what that match for him could have been a WrestleMania with Bobby Lashley. I think it would have been fantastic, and I think that he would have went over. I think Bray would have won the match, and God, that would have been good. I think it would have been fast paced and hard hitting.
No, I agree. I love that they had that weird video playing of Bray. It was like a little compilation of like some of the stuff he did in the Firefly Funhouse, like the Muscle Man dance going on. I thought, it was so chaotic. It was so funny. And I was like, Bobby was just so confused. I was like, oh man, this could be really something good. And then
Bobby sold it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's and the one thing I will sit here and say that's why I always love the dark matches, because if the cameras were on, Bray wouldn't have done a move and then go to the top rope to pose. Right. So it was 100% for the audience and stuff and stuff like that. And like, I mean, I went to a Raw in Greensboro one time, and it happened to have Steve Austin there, and he did a beer bash after when the cameras went off. So like, you never know what's going to happen and stuff like that. So honestly, there's a lot of matches, but that being the last time you saw him, perfect.
No, yeah, it's very special, and I'm glad Ben brought it up, because it is a good aspect of just how much fun he was as a person as well. So we did matches. Now, I'd say you heard the name Bray Wyatt over a week ago, and you could think of many moments of where you just stopped in time. You just thought, wow, that was incredible, or that was really cool, or wow, I'm really confused by this. Either way, he did get a reaction out of us in some way, shape, or form through moments. And I went through my head and I wrote down like 5, but there's at least 25 more in my head. And for the past 10 years, this man has entertained everybody when he's been on the screen. So I'm curious to know, what are your guys' favorite Bray Wyatt moments? And this time, I'd like to start with Bennett.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Honorable mention is to him standing there as Uncle Howdy hit the most devastating drop on LA Knight that missed. Listen, if there was a good picture of that, of like him dropping and him in the background, I would have that plastered throughout my room, because that is the most hilarious fuck up by a wrestler that I've seen.
It wasn't even close.
Oh my
he
God.
Totally missed him.
He whiffed so bad. But no, honestly, I think one of my favorite Bray Wyatt moments is one that he did all the time was every time he would come out with the Wyatt family, and they do the whole rocking chair thing, all that stuff. Every time he did that, it was just like, oh, he's so fucking evil. He's so evil. like this dude wants the smoke. Like he's gonna kick your ass. He's sitting down before a match. He's gonna kick your ass. Like, uh, and anything he did with the Wyatt family, with all three members before they got Braun, with the original three, anything that they did, together, it's just core memories after core memory. And then I think that but the one that stands out the most to me is I believe I don't remember Royal Rumble numbers, but it was the one I think where Orton won it, right? And it was before the Elimination Chamber where Bray
2017.
final, right? 2017. And wasn't Bray like in the final 3 or 2?
Yes.
Okay. In the moments where they're all like he was final 3. The moments where like someone just got thrown over the top rope and they show everybody all gassed, and it's those two looking at each other like, oh my God, one of us is gonna win this. That's just stuck in my brain anytime I think about Bray Wyatt. That's just immediately what pops in.
Yeah. No, it's really good. One thing I'd like to say, well, there's actually two things. One thing about the Royal Rumble, I remember 2015 Royal Rumble when Bray Wyatt was dominating like the first couple of competitors, and then he had to face off with the Boogeyman for like 30 seconds, and then he just threw him out of the ring immediately.
Oh my God.
If you remember that, like
I hated that character, but that was so funny.
it was great. I love that. And about Bennett, you're talking about the entrances, and this dude is literally sitting down before a match, like he's locked in. Tell me you wouldn't be afraid if this man comes out with a lantern, and then two huge guys, one of them wearing a sheet mask, by the way, for God
Dragging
knows
a
what
rocking chair.
right, with the rock.
Dragon Rocker, yeah.
He blows out the lantern. The lights come on, and his two goons are surrounding you around the ring. And then he gets up, he starts, and they just throws his hat on, puts it on the rocking chair. You're done. It doesn't matter who you are. You're cooked. It's special. Kyle, you're next, please.
I mean, there's quite a few moments. Obviously, Royal Rumble 2017. The Daniel Bryan turn on the Wyatt family inside the steel cage. His return at Extreme Rules 2022. Like WrestleMania 30 and stuff like that. I wouldn't necessarily say WrestleMania 31 because that match was done a disservice because that WrestleMania was held in San Francisco. So he's trying to do this creepy entrance and it's still basically daylight outside. Right. So, yeah. But I'm going to go with the first time the Shield and the Wyatts stood across the ring from each other. It was literally, they're on either side of the ring. No one's on the ring yet. The crowd is just warming up. One person walks, gets on the apron and then follows them through. One person gets in the ring. They alternate. The crowd is building and building and building. And before anyone touches each other, this is awesome. Like that right there is a snapshot of what WWE should have been the next 5 years if Vince didn't get a hard on for Brock Lesnar.
Tell me about it.
And Goldberg.
Tell me about it.
That was the main event scene for the next 5 years. Now, obviously, I don't think Eric Rowan would have been a main eventer, but he would have been a solid mid-carder. I think Rowan could have, Luke Harper, Brody Lee could have been. And in his time in AEW, he showed he should have been. And then, of course, all the members of the Shield. But just them standing right there before they even fight. And the crowd's just lost it. They're just over the moon. That is the moment when you knew they have stumbled upon something very special. Hopefully they don't screw it up. And then they screwed it up.
It spoke volumes, just how much the crowd loved both of these characters, both of these acts, and just the fact that they were all they had to do was stand across the ring from each other.
Yeah.
Like you said, not touch each other once. And yet the tension, you could feel it at home.
Oh,
I
my
couldn't
God.
imagine what you could feel inside the arena at that moment.
If there was, I think if there was people at the concession stand, they probably just stop and just watch the monitor like, oh my God. I know I'm in line. I know my hot dog is about to get burned, but holy hell, what's going on here?
Much more important. Much more important. That's a great,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic. Hunter, what do you got?
I got 4 of them.
Okay. Give us the quadruple.
See, we're
All
just
right.
trying to be nice. We're trying to do at least one, maybe shout out another one.
It's cool.
You're just gonna go through his calendar. All right, 2013, go.
I won't go like into too much detail, but I'll just say like, see, I don't want to steal Matt. So Matt, do you want me to say them or?
I want you to say them all, and if you take what I'm gonna say, it's fine because I'll just explain it differently.
Okay, so 2014 WrestleMania, the match WrestleMania 30, before the match when Harper and Rowan are standing behind him. He's got the hair in his face, young Wyatt. He's got the hands out, lights out. Lights are everyone's shine the lights, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my bad, y'all. That's
No, I'm just playing.
I'm blind.
that's one of them. Another one, which is more like a low-key one, when Randy Orton and Luke Harper were wrestling, when they were in the little rivalry, and Bray was in his rocking chair, just sitting on the ring, like the entrance, like on the stage down on SmackDown. He was just rocking his chair, watching carefully, seeing who's gonna win between Orton and Harper. I don't know if y'all remember that. I don't know. I just thought it was like some badass like boss shit. Just him just rocking, just watching the match. And then you got when he wins when he wins the WWE champion after the AJ Styles elimination. That was awesome. And then my favorite is the Fiend debut. SummerSlam against Finn Balor. That fucking music. Oh my gosh. It was cultivating. He went out there and he squashed him. Exactly what should happen. I was like, holy crap. This is a monster. And then they should never put him in the belt. Should have never went for belts, in my opinion. Not that soon. But that's my favorite moment is the Fiend debut. That was oh,
What I loved about the Fiend debut, because we had previously seen the Fiend. I think he was there once or twice before that SummerSlam match. He attacked Balor. And that's all we saw of him. So nobody knew what his entrance looked like. Nobody knew what his moveset would look like. Right. But you knew kind of the look. But when he debuted with that full entrance, not to mention the Firefly Funhouse vignettes that were happening before this all went into action. So as soon as you heard, we're really glad that you are our friend, and this is a friendship that'll never, never end, and it cuts, and it cuts, it gets staticky, and it goes black, or it slowly goes black with lights. And then that first entrance as he comes out with the hurt, heel. I mean, I don't think there's a word I could use to describe how you could picture that. Because if someone tells you about this, you're like, okay, but what does that look like? You can't really explain it until you see it. So when they saw it at SummerSlam, everybody was just kind of like, what? Like in shock. Exactly. Kyle's got the YouTube reaction.
And the lantern that had a fake Wyatt head. Oh,
it didn't look fake.
I was gonna bring that up, like if nobody else had brought it up, because I took a break from watching wrestling for a while, and I came back, closer to my freshman year to start watching it again. And for some reason, I randomly like Instagram reel or something of probably that entrance of it. I saw that, and I have never been more scared of anything the WWE has ever done than that freaking lantern. That thing is terrifying. That is a human's face strapped to a lantern. You don't do that. There's no sane person creates that. Like,
there was so much nightmare fuel. They sold it on the WWE shop for I don't know how much. But
and this is me just being a not only an older person but an older fan. I would say the last time that I saw a character that created that fear, like just the entrance created that fear in not only kids but maybe adults as well, is Big Van Vader in WCW when he came out with the mastodon head that had the steam come out. Like I remember watching it the first time I saw it, I went, hell, like just shocking. Like, and then he exposed it, and I'm like, where's the steam coming from? What the hell? And it was, and that's the best way to do it. And that's a good comparison. They're both not, tiny men, but agile men. Like you have 300-pounders that are flying around like they're cruiserweights.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty incredible how they could do that, especially Bray. I mean, the way one of my favorite moves in his moveset is he throws him off the ropes and he bounces off of him, right? And he just throws up the double elbows.
Mm-hmm.
A little flying crossbody action there. I always enjoyed that move. But well, Hunt, out of your 4 moments, you did not take any of mine. So we're good. We're good.
Good.
Don't
I'm
worry.
glad. I'm glad.
Don't worry. Although I would like to say every moment we have talked about has been just wonderful, and I'm so glad we're talking about it. So I'll bring up 2, and both of these hold really close to home in my heart. But the first one was his return at Hell in a Cell 2014. You had the culmination of the rivalry between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose inside Hell in a Cell.
Ooh.
And remember, Seth turned on the Shield in June of that year. And so Ambrose and him have been fighting all the way since June, all the way into October. And in the middle of that time period, Seth curb stomped Ambrose's head through cinder blocks so he could go film a movie. But he was out a month or 2, and they came back, fought at SummerSlam, lumberjack match. But now they had one more match inside Hell in a Cell, where it was needed. You needed a match like that to finish the rivalry. And so you had Ambrose. He had the storytelling going for him. He put Rollins' head on the cinder blocks, and it looked like he was going to be the one to curb stomp him through. Instead, the lights go out, and you hear this really faint, mysterious voice talking in a language I still don't know what it is to this day. I could make a guess and say it's Latin. I have no idea what it is. But he was just repeating the same phrase over and over. And while this was happening, smoke was coming up. And in comes a hologram. I don't think I've ever seen a hologram on WWE programming in some time up to this point.
No.
This hologram comes up, and Ambrose is just looking at it. He's like, what even is this? And then you see this figure sliding into the ring. Here comes Bray Wyatt. Bang. Returns. Sister Abigail, Dean Ambrose. Seth Rollins wins the match. Starts a couple-month-long feud with Ambrose there. But Wyatt, I think that return will always hold something with me because I watched that live and I was like, holy hell. Like, I've never seen anything like this before.
Sure.
But if I wish I knew what the guy was saying in that phrase. But
I remember that one, and I remember watching it, and the first thing I can't, is I know we're talking about our favorite moments and stuff, but I saw that and I went, really? What is this? Star Wars? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, looking back on it, it was definitely unique. But at the moment, I went, well, great. This is Vince burying Bray Wyatt because they've reduced him to a hologram to distract a person, and that feud ended with a exploding TV. So
yeah, that part wasn't great. But I will say I like that they tried something different with that return.
true.
And it wasn't just like he breaks through the door and comes in. Like it was theatrical. So it's not for everybody. And I totally get that.
Absolutely.
But yeah. But the other moment I wanted to bring up, although that return in Extreme Rules 2022 was, I mean, we all know what it is at this point.
Spine tingling.
Right. It was ridiculous just how much he got 6 or 7 loud crowd pops out of that 3 minutes.
and you didn't even know, like you thought it was him, but the way Triple H had been doing his returns, it could have been anybody. That's
Right.
the thing.
Right. And the QR codes are really cool with the white rabbit to follow along.
So that's
Very cool.
that's better than the 2014 return at Hell in a Cell because they utilized social media.
Yeah.
They made you go down the rabbit hole.
Right. And it giving you all these clues to lead up to it, that was nice. Some good crowd interaction is always important. But within that return, his first promo back on SmackDown, that is what really got me. And it's something I'm always gonna think about. Because I had just gotten off work at that point. I was rushing back home to see if I can catch Bray Wyatt in the end, and they brought him back at the end. And which is cool. But man, and when he said, "This is just me. I'm gonna show you guys this side of me that you've never seen before," my heart just sank, but in the best possible way. Because for what was it, 5-7 minutes just talking to us from the person Windham Rotunda to the audience that he's been entertaining for 10 years. It was just breathtaking. And obviously we've seen the Swamp cult leader, we've seen the Fiend, we've seen the Firefly Funhouse, we've seen the Deleter of Worlds, we've seen it all. But we didn't see that. We didn't see the human behind the character, and him just talking straight from the heart, just very emotional, but something I'll always remember forever.
Right.
And I think that's a great way to remember him through there. But I don't know. Just looking back on it, hasn't even been a full year, and it's going to live on forever, which is
I agree.
Awesome.
But I know we're going to talk about just the character in a second, but if you don't mind, can I ask just one quick question?
Absolutely, go for it.
Everybody. So obviously look on social media and one of that. I want to know, outside of what was produced on WWE TV, whether it be on social media or any other organizations, what do you think? Yeah, what was the best tribute you saw? And Hunter, I'll start with you.
So the best tribute that I saw, I think, honestly, I probably was SmackDown. SmackDown was beautiful. No, Becky Lynch's tribute was special. You saw her break down, and you could really see how she meant it. Seth Rollins' video was very heartfelt too. He was trying not to cry the whole time. Seeing Rowan and Strowman embrace was also heartbreaking. The QR codes throughout the night was beautiful. But if I'm going with one, I think I'm going with Becky's.
That was
Main event, heartfelt. She was really. And one thing I want to say to everyone here and everyone who may watch, they just released something on WWE YouTube it's like a 30-40 minute video, and it's different wrestlers giving stories and talking about Bray Wyatt. I'll pull it up for y'all right now.
Oh, I believe it, and I don't know if I'm gonna make it through all that video without stopping it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
but
Wyatt Superstar. Hold on one second. It's WWE Superstar share moments.
Share Bray Wyatt memories. Yeah, okay, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it.
That's the first thing I'm doing when we get done with this video here, right here.
Yeah. Good.
So, WB YouTube, you want to watch it?
Right. What about you, Bennett?
Honestly, I think in terms of the tributes, I mean, first things first, you got to give it to the people in WWE who worked to get a tribute out like the next day for Bray Wyatt on that SmackDown, and then the Raw and the NXT package that they made is probably the best way you could encapsulate the guy. You could encapsulate Bray Wyatt. It had everything. And I know, it was still pictures, some videos and stuff, but how they used his audio, and they have him. They don't have him blowing out his lantern until the very end of it, where they could have had him do that about 15 times, but the hyper fixation on that lantern, which thinking about Bray Wyatt, I think about the rocking chair first, and then I think about the lantern, but I don't always you don't always think about the lantern and the use of that lantern on, I believe it was what, Friday night, at the end of the show. It was
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen Taker leave his boots in the ring and his hat and his cape. We've seen other tributes when people retire, but that lantern being in the middle of that ring lit up, that's probably the biggest thank you that anyone that any company could give to an employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. Absolutely right. What about you, Matt?
So I think in terms of tributes, I think the one off social media that really hit me hard was Seth Rollins. And like Hunter was saying, he was trying not to cry the entire time. What's interesting was there is a lot of online discourse, and I'm sure it was like this with the crowds too. But I mean, in 2019, the Seth Rollins and the Fiend rivalry,
Oh,
it was just tough for both parties. Unfortunately, it was not easy at all. And Seth Rollins, he was the hype, he was the big baby face of the year. It all went downhill after that Hell in a Cell match. It's no fault of their own, just really dumb booking to do a no contest in a Hell in a Cell match.
yes.
Not to mention it was the second year in a row at that point.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that they used that to keep the rivalry going and build a friend, they had to have built a friendship off of that because of how much negativity and hate they had encountered, is a true testament to just how good some of these people are when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to working together. They realized that it wasn't favorable in the fans' eyes, and yet they used it to strengthen their own friendship. And that's why it was so personal for Seth. That's just my opinion. I don't know him personally, but I could tell right away. But when it comes to in-ring tributes, I think LA Knight did a terrific job on Friday.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of trust and responsibility to be told to go out there and go further your storyline with The Miz, but also give tribute to Bray Wyatt. Not to mention, LA Knight was Bray Wyatt's last televised opponent.
Yep. And last opponent ever
right.
at a house show.
Right. So it holds true to go out there, further your storyline with The Miz, but also give a tribute to that man who, in all senses, gave LA Knight the platform he needed to explode.
Yes.
So he went out there and did a great job, and he was emotional. It meant a lot. He meant a lot to LA Knight. You could tell that. And the way he closed the promo by telling Miz, a wise man once told me, if you see me, run. It was incredible. And that was a great impression. And you could tell that they really enjoyed working together.
Right.
So I'm always gonna remember that tribute.
Yeah, I mean, I always, so mine personally, I didn't watch this, but I saw what happened. I loved how every promotion did. Like, I know Impact on Thursday did a 10-bell salute to both Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. AEW had all of their TV in the can because they were going over to England. So they, I know they, during the 0 hour pre-show, they mentioned Windham and Terry Funk. And I know Paul White definitely mentioned them, and Renee mentioned them. The Seth, the Becky tributes, Bailey, LA Knight, all that. But I will sit here and say I think the best one was a subtle one. I don't know if the lighting is allowing me to, but this right here is the House of Black from AEW.
Oh, okay.
And during their trios tag title match at All In, They walked out and and they're wearing white because they portrayed themselves as the heroes of the story, even though they're the villains. They walk out, and then Buddy Matthews, Buddy Matthews has his right hand behind his back. He comes out, a lantern. Uh, Malachi Black, Aleister Black from WWE fans looks over. He puts it on the ground. Then they walk to the ring, and at that moment, the commentators, Excalibur, Nigel McGuinness, and Taz talk about the Fireflies and talk about how they're honoring their not only their fallen brother, but our fallen brother, Windham Rotunda, better known as Bray Wyatt. And like that right there, to have in AEW's biggest show, to set the paid attendance record for a wrestling show, despite what because WWE likes to inflate their WrestleMania attendance figures, because there was not 101 paid fans at WrestleMania 32, but to take that moment to honor Bray and let the entire world know we're here with you. That right there. And it wasn't so much where you are, being a villain and you do something villainy or anything like that. It's just a subtle thing.
Yeah.
And reports have come out that Tony Khan has said that anyone who wants to miss, because they got another pay-per-view next week, if they want to miss Dynamite this week or next week because of funeral arrangements or paying homage to Bray, they can miss it. So, but that Lantern tribute, just like as soon as I saw that, I went, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. It was very nice, and I'm really glad they did do that. And obviously not something that you can expect, but the fact that they immediately thought, here, let's find a lantern. We would need this in pay-per-view. It's really
and
hard.
even Fozzy had a show. I want to say Friday, either Thursday night or Friday night.
Yeah.
In England, and Jericho was talking about it on stage, and the next thing you know, the crowd just started singing, "We got the whole world in his hands." And I went, and he says, "Okay, you guys sing." And he just sit there. He dedicated that concert to Bray, and he dedicated all not only his performance but the entire show of All In to Bray. That right there. We like to be tribalists in our wrestling viewing. Bennett. we
Don't get me started on mid-ass AEW.
but my point is, we like to be, a lot of people are tribalists. They want one. They don't care. Basically, if it's not one, it's everything. Everything else is trash. It was like that in the Attitude Era. It's like that now. But at the end of the day, every single one of them from every single company are professional wrestlers. It is a fraternity, and when one falls, they all are there to lift everybody up.
Yep. No doubt about that. And it's really is one of the things that helps you look in hindsight, just that wrestling can be very beautiful, and everybody is working together. And even if they're not under contract together, they are with each other all the time. And
especially in the social media age, or like, you don't know how many times I've seen Andrade on Charlotte Flair's social media. They work for two different companies, but they're married. Right. Buddy Murphy and Buddy Matthews and Rhea Ripley. I just saw a video where Tamina was right next to I'm sorry, it was Nia Jax. To the left was Angela Dawkins, to the right was Moose of Impact. And I'm like, okay. Whoa. Like and Nia Jax is under contract. Yeah, WWE guy, Impact guy. Like, it's, it's not as tribalist as back in the day, and from behind the scenes. And I just wish for a day, let's have the Bray and Brody wrestling festival where every wrestlers from every promotion, they just wrestle and they honor everyone who's passed.
That'd be nice. That'd be a great idea. Oh man, it is tough, but yeah. So, in order to close out the show, there is one more thing about Bray that we all will talk about, and we will talk about our favorite Bray Wyatt character. And what's really cool about Bray Wyatt, and I've said this like 5 times over, is that every time he's on screen, he is just so entertaining. And he's had 5, 6 different characters, different versions of different characters. He's been able to stay fresh and stay unique. You cannot have one of your takeaways about him being a lack of creativity, because he does have so much of it. So I listed them earlier, but
unfortunately, depending on who you ask, because there's some people who are 100% old school who 100% disliked the Bray character, like people like Jim Cornette, like did not, because they didn't get it. And that's the thing, you don't have to get it. That's part of the journey.
No, and I think all of us do get it, which is important, and probably why we're all on the podcast right now.
We're not old people. Old people are out of touch. Anyway.
Thank you, Bennett, for that public service announcement.
You're welcome.
Old people are out of touch. Bennett Ferguson, 2023.
They got scared when the Undertaker showed up as the gobbledygooker. Like, come on now. Who is this? It's changed. It's different. You.
I can't believe you just brought up the gobbledygooker.
I mean, the Undertaker thought he was coming out of the egg. What you think about that?
Hey.
Anyways,
Matters losing control.
Welcome back to the Beach Bros Wrestling Podcast. We just took a gobbledygooker break. Apparently, we're back. We're going to talk about our favorite characters of Bray Wyatt. And Bennett, since you've been so excited about that thing that came out of the egg, why don't you go ahead and tell us your favorite Bray Wyatt character?
I mean, for me, it's the OG. Daniel Bryan, what the heck? Bray Wyatt. God bless. Bray Wyatt, when he was with the Wyatt family, that one. Like when they debuted. It's mainly, I'm a little selfish. I love Luke Harper. He was my favorite member of the Wyatt family when he was there. Brody Lee's passing hit me infinitely more harder than Bray's did, even though Bray's hit me pretty darn hard.
Yeah.
So the Wyatt family as a whole, in my opinion, the Wyatt family is probably the best group in WWE history, just because of how unique they were.
Yes.
And I wish that they had stayed together a little bit longer. I know they needed to separate and do their own things, and that was they were kind of forced to because of the time. You can't let it get stale. But man, they all just lifted each other up. They all just made each other better. I'm not counting the Braun Strowman part of the Wyatt family, just pre him. But yeah, it's got to be that Bray.
I think it's a great choice. I do agree with you. Hunter?
I'm with Bennett. Original Bray Wyatt when he first debuted with the Hawaiian orange shirt, and it's classic. It's classic. It was new. We hadn't really seen a spook character like that since really, we had the Boogeyman, but that wasn't what I mean. He wasn't not what Bray Wyatt brought. Bray Wyatt brought entertainment, story, creativity. But the OG Wyatt family, they had Harper with the gray overalls and the light blue shorts, and Eric Rowan in the green suit and the white mat. I mean, it was a classic. It was fresh. It was great. I was young. I loved it. Still have my Elite 27 Bray Wyatt in box. I value that even more now. And for everyone who doesn't know, I'm a huge action figure collector. But Bray Wyatt's, I love the OG character.
There's not a lot to dislike about that character.
I have I've thrown my Bray Wyatt action figure when I had him. I probably threw that man off of more heights in my house than any other action figure.
Oh, poor Bray.
Him and Luke Harper would put on some instant classics. Let me tell you, because I didn't own one of those little ring things, so I did. The house was the ring. It was
course.
always a Falls Count Anywhere match.
It has to be. There's no other way to
Absolutely.
play with your action figures.
Oh yeah. But those heights, I think at one point we had to glue his hand back on. But yeah.
Poor Bray. But we just put him through the ringer for no reason.
Right.
For entertainment.
Kyle, are you gonna
I'm
join?
I'm going to continue with the OG because I mean I loved the new Wyatt family with Harper and Randy Orton because that was a vehicle to try to because you knew he was or someone was going to turn on someone. I loved the Fiend. I loved his character came back. We're trying to get the Wyatt six, but like that original, the first time he shows up on the TV and he's gone on record as saying it is basically a cross of Robert De Niro's character from Cape Fear and Waylon Mercy, a jobber character from the 90s. It was just merged. And just the way and because and here's one thing you don't, we haven't even brought up the creativity of Bray Wyatt of Windham Rotunda fostered by the creativity of the Dream, baby, Dusty Rhodes. And that right there just created magic with the Wyatt family, with him, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan. And in the first time they showed up, you attack at that time a legendary figure in Kane. Now it's dependent on who you ask. If you're saying it in a wrestling, still in a wrestling, he's still a legend because of the career he had. Outside of ring, notwithstanding. But their first night on the main roster, you attack Kane, and you beat him in your pay-per-view debut in a modern version of an Inferno match. I didn't like the match. I didn't like the Ring of Fire match. I didn't like it. They should have just done an Inferno match. Kane's been burned once. He can be burned again. But I guess they didn't want to do it because of PG. So they had to figure out a way to bring that stipulation back, but doing it PG, and that's what they did. But just that first image of him walking out, attacking Kane, and then that first promo go, whatever city they're in, we're here. And then the slow cadence of the theme that really just sped up a little bit. And then that, as we said earlier, that walk, that slow, methodical. He was truly going to take the mantle, and I believe this now. Bray Wyatt's first WrestleMania match should have been against Undertaker, and he should have retired the Undertaker. And where it was like, okay, who's going to be Undertaker the first time? Who would benefit the most? How about he steals the aura of the Undertaker to become truly the new face of fear? And that, and that was just. I mean, there's really no bad Bray Wyatt character, Husky Harris, but yeah, that was a bad one. Even he knew it. That's the reason why I went back down to NXT, FCW, and that's when they created the Bray Wyatt character. So, just that old school OG Bray Wyatt Hawaiian T-shirt, fedora, looking like a mob boss crossed with a crocodile hunter. Just right. Awesome.
That's a great comparison. That's a great analogy. I'm so glad you said that.
That made my day.
I think
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I think the best part of Husky Harris was him getting punted in the head by Randy Orton, which makes me think now of how much Randy Orton did work with Bray Wyatt and how close they got, which is really cool to see because he was always a big supporter of Bray. I'm sure he's been taking the loss hard as well. In terms of character, I will complete the sweep here. I don't think there's any other character that you got something to say, Bennett?
You're not gonna pick the deleter of worlds?
No, I'm not because
Thank you, because that was probably his worst character besides Husky Harris.
I think it peaked when it started when he helped
Yes.
Matt Hardy win that Battle Royal at WrestleMania
Yes.
34 or 30.
32. No, 34. You're right. 34.
34. Yeah. But that was great. That was great. I saw a clip surface the other day of the B team, Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas mocking them.
Yeah.
And you had Curtis Axel as Matt Hardy and Bo Dallas as Bray. I think the impressions were spot on. It was
That was 100% a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We know you're brothers, but we're not acknowledging on camera.
right. It made him smile. It made him break character live. So it was pretty good. But in terms of the swamp leader, cult leader, either way, those vignettes leading up to it of Harper telling cameraman to follow him and not to stray. So what does the cameraman do? He strays immediately. But and then Brace comes and he's like, "Oh, you're here. Been waiting for you." It's great. What I do love about that character, I never understood most of his promos at that time because I was 12, 13 years old. He said a lot of big words I didn't really understand, but I could feel the aura of how important they were, of what he was saying was important. And if you go back and listen to some of those promos now, they hit much different than they did 10 years ago. And there's a lot of truth to those promos. Were some of it fabricated? Of course, it's wrestling. It has to be. But the man just knew how to speak, how to get your attention. Yeah. And he made a very simple looking move in the Sister Abigail look very effective with that character. And like we've been talking about the walk, he had every aspect down. Mm-hmm. And so when you think of Bray, you will always think of the Wyatt family leader, the cult leader from the swamp. And it's not a disservice to any of his other characters because I think, like Kyle said, the creativity is second to none in that man. And you could tell that in the Firefly Funhouse every single week they've been on.
And I will say one thing. I know Bennett brought it up, the leader of world, that tag team they had with Matt Hardy. I think the only thing that hindered it was the fact that you had Vince McMahon running creative. And Matt Hardy couldn't, he had to be woken. He couldn't be broken, Matt Hardy. And like the 2016, final deletion, him and his brother Jeff, and that broken Matt Hardy, that broken universe that really just gave Impact, basically saved Impact from basically being not even around today, in my opinion. Then you get Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy in WWE. They're not able to get the broken character. They had to go back to the Hardy Boys. But you get the woken Matt Hardy, and you could tell on Matt's face that he was having fun playing, bouncing off of Bray Wyatt. Like one moment I think about Jeff Hardy's return to Raw after WrestleMania 34, where he runs into I think him and Seth run into Matt and Bray. And like that, and that thing, and they just have this whole wonderful thing, and Finn Balor too, and then they walk away, and then those three are standing there, and Matt Jeff's just putting like a mouth guard or something. And he goes, they walk away, and then you got Seth Rollins and Finn each other looking at each other, go, what?
Yeah, they're like, what's wrong with him?
Exactly.
these are friends, so
yeah,
that's special. Oh man. Well, I think we have a lot of great sound bites I'm gonna pull later out of this and put it on our social media. But guys, thank you so much for joining, man. And like I said, very unfortunate circumstances for why we're here, but I think this is a really great celebration of what the man, Windham Rotunda, brought to us in the form of Bray Wyatt for 10 years on the main roster. And I'm really glad you're able to do this. So Bennett, thanks for coming on, brother. We appreciate you. Kyle, it's your first appearance. Hopefully you'll be back for some more if you're interested.
Pleasure to meet you, Kyle.
Absolutely, and nice to meet you too, Hunter. And let's just also remember, I know we've been centric to Bray Wyatt, but we cannot forget the Funkster, the original king of hardcore. He was hardcore before ECW was a thing. Terry, his feuds with like Ric Flair and just helping ECW out, and then him and Mick Foley. So, we also have to give our love. We're not as shocked by that because he was I think he returned 80, so he lived a long life. He had health issues. So we, send our love to his families and friends as well. But us talking about Bray, this has just been a shocker, but it's been awesome. And hopefully next time we can have a more interesting fun conversation where I can basically just demolish y'all with wrestling knowledge.
Oh boy, Kyle, I think you're gonna win that battle 10 times out of 10. So
you take it.
We'll see what happens. We're not gonna back down.
All right, that's what I want.
That's what's up.
We should do a wrestling trivia episode. We all keep points.
Oh boy, you don't want to challenge Kyle to trivia.
Oh no,
I'll be the host.
Yeah, you be the host.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Don't let him be the host either. He's gonna pull some trivia you've never heard of. Who was the television champion in 2000 on March 14th? Tell me.
Jim Duggan. Unless it was ECW, and at that point, I think Rob Van Dam was still the champion. I'm not sure if he had vacated yet. If it was either Tajiri or Rhino.
We're screwed.
You what?
Jeez.
We're screwed.
That's all I need to hear.
Good Lord. Wow. Thanks a lot, Bennett. Now you got the juice this way. But guys, thank you so much for watching here on YouTube or Spotify, however you're listening. We appreciate you very much, and we will be back very soon with the Beach Bros Wrestling Podcast. But until then, guys, be well, take care of yourselves, and remember.